Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Atlanta Falcons Nation on a Saturday afternoon. And we haven't done this in a while, but this is a special episode for us. And we have a special guest, and we're going to go ahead and introduce him in a minute. But let's go ahead and let you guys come on and get in. I see you guys piling in a little bit. Leave a chat. Let us know that you're here with us. We're excited for this show. It's no football right about now, so what better way to do it and just talk about it some more, because we're going to go through that drought where we're going to miss football. So I love talking it. So let's go ahead and introduce ourselves for who are new watching us that don't know who we are at Atlanta Falcons Nation. I am Miss Maggie T. I am producer and co-owner of Atlanta Falcons Nation. And to my right, we have
Mr. Just Kstlyz,
Just
aka
Kstlyz,
the beer drinker.
Absolutely. And next to him, we have
You have the one and only, the people's champ, the public defender. You call me Magnus, or you might refer to me as Mister.
So you the public defender still? I thought you had a different name lined up.
Hey, listen. I got the belt.
Oh.
There you go. Oh,
the people's champ.
there you go.
Absolutely,
Oh,
absolutely. And of course, Mike, he decided I wanted to make you the best for last. So go ahead, Mr. Mike. Introduce yourself.
Wow, just like a woman to make me go last. All right. Hey man, it's the mad scientist, Mad Mike himself, man. Man, I'm actually excited about this. Will McFadden is actually one of the guys that I go to a news. So if you guys see any news that comes from me, more than likely it comes from Will McFadden, the Orlando Ledbetter, and that's pretty much it. So that's all for me. All right. So Will, this is I don't what we do here. It's real talk and honesty, facts and truth. So what you hear here is, especially for our fans, you're gonna hear the fans speak nothing but the truth. And like I said before, all your news, anything that you plug from here, we're gonna see it. We're gonna see exactly that, man. We're gonna see exactly that. But introduce yourself. Let us know what you're all about, man.
Yeah, really happy to be on here. I'm excited to be able to interact in kind of an environment like this. Usually, a lot of the stuff I see is kind of on Twitter. It's a really one-way medium, but it's awesome to get the opportunity to really hear, like you guys said, the facts and the truth. Because having been in the building for so long, things kind of get told through a certain prism. And I grew up a Falcons fan. I grew up in Atlanta. So for the longest time, I was kind of exactly where you guys are and looking at it through that lens. So I'm really excited to kind of get the opportunity to go back to that for this conversation and hopefully inform you guys as much as I can with any questions you guys might have. That is the benefit of having been in that building for 4 years. But on the flip side, it's a really exciting start of a new chapter for this organization and for this team. And what better way to start than just diving right in?
Oh, definitely. Then that comes to our first question then. We kind of got to get to know you. Well, we kind of heard about it 4 years. You live in Atlanta, always, you've been a Falcons fan, but what inspired you to write, especially about the Atlanta Falcons? Or maybe, of course, you probably did some other journalism about other teams, but for, what you currently had been doing, what inspired you to do that?
It's kind of just an interesting story. I just fell into it a little bit, I guess it's not that interesting, but it was something once, the more I did it, especially writing about sports in college, and like I said, growing up a fan of all sports, like that's the type of thing that naturally you love to do, is to talk and share your opinions and thoughts and everything with all other fans. You want to have those debates, you want to engage with them, and it's a real communal experience. And so I kind of learned that through writing about all of this stuff, it takes that conversation, to another level, because you're then really diving into this world. And it could be things like, I remember writing in college for a website, and I was writing something about like the Kansas City Royals, and like their GM was coming over to Atlanta or something. And I was doing all this research into how they built the Kansas City Royals and all this stuff. And opening my eyes to a totally different franchise and fan base and their conversations and the passion there. And so it's something that I've always enjoyed doing. Right after college, I went to the AJC, started there with Dog Nation and SEC Country, which were two new verticals that they were trying to launch.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I definitely know what that is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they basically covered college football. You guys may actually know Chris Kirshner, who covers the Atlanta Hawks for The Athletic. He and I were the first two employees hired for that. So, I've known Chris for 5-6 years now. But from that, went to Saturday Down South, covered Georgia and Alabama football for their website. And then out of the blue one day, got a phone call from, Matt Tabik, and he liked my resume, wanted to have a conversation. And that's it, really the lucky way that I ended up being with the Atlanta Falcons for 4 years. And then in that job, I just learned so much. I got to really live the dream job for, I'm sure, a lot of people. And it was great. I had a blast doing it.
Okay. I'm excited about that story because I'm just now kind of new in the game as far as now, of course, sports has been my life as a female. It's just been embedded in me. I'm just a home team person. We don't find that in Atlanta too often, but I talk about the Hawks, Braves, the Thrashers when we had a team, like, faithfully. Religiously, I can't even get the word out. But why not do it as a career? So it's not a job for me to talk about, these teams and things like that's what me and Mike do. And KSTYLZ, we talk about all teams, and so not just for Atlanta Falcons, we do have our own individual channels that we talk about the team. So to me, I enjoy it just like you said you enjoy it. So that's an inspiration. You got anything to say? I saw somebody had a hand up or something. Nobody. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get into the next question. You want to go ahead and get this KSTYLZ? I'm gonna go ahead and put that one up. So we kind of got your life a little bit. No, that's not that one. And now we're gonna go ahead and get right into the Falcons question since we heard a little bit about you. So go ahead, KSTYLZ.
All right, man. Hey, what's going on with you, man? You doing all right? Right? You good with us right now, man?
Hell yeah, let's do it.
hey, there you go. That's what I wanted to hear. So, as you know, Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot, how you feel about that, man?
I think it's the move that they wanted. I think the Falcons got the guys they like. It seems a little bit like a differences thing with the head coach, which oftentimes they are. You swing on the pendulum. They had a really gregarious, personality-driven defensive player coach. Now they've gone with a little bit more of the studious X's and O's offensive mind who's going to be the play caller. And, we'll see how that works out. I think that's the way that the league is trending. Certainly, I think it's a big plus that, something that always happens in the NFL, and it happened here in Atlanta, and fans are very aware of that, is because offense has never been more valuable. It is, frankly, the side of the ball where you're going to kind of win or lose the bulk of your season. If you have a really good offensive play caller as a coordinator, they're going to get a head coaching look. If you've got Kyle Shanahan on your roster, that is extremely valuable, but then he's going to get hired away because he's so good at his job. So you're seeing more and more around the league, people want their head coach to also be their play caller. So that's a huge plus. I think Terry Fontenot, the one conversation that I had with him, that dude lights up a room.
I've seen that.
Wow.
I like it.
I've never seen as friendly an Atlanta Falcons, media press conference as I did in his opener, because he told stories. You asked him questions and he came back with stories, and which speaks to me. Like, I think he's a very intelligent person. I think he's a very grounded individual. He brought his family on screen.
Oh, I love that.
It was phenomenal, right? And I think that what will be really interesting to watch with him is he's obviously seen firsthand how the Saints have navigated their really tight, tricky cap situation over the past, 5-6 years. But crucially, he's also comes from a pro personnel background. So he's been, when they bring in guys like Demario Davis and guys like that who have had success and become kind of pro bowlers with the Saints organization, that's something the Falcons haven't had in recent years. They haven't had that mix of drafting talent and bringing in proven veteran players to supplement that draft capital. And I think that's the mix that they really want to have here in Atlanta. And so I think that Terry Fontenot will bring that. And I think that Arthur Smith has done a really good job in kind of surrounding himself offensively with some young minds, but defensively with veteran coaches. And he can kind of worry about one side of the ball, and he can let Dean Pease and those guys cook on the other side of the ball.
You know, and I want to add to the point where I heard in those press conferences, accountability was like the main word I heard. And that was just like, okay, because the big thing is the culture of the Atlanta Falcons team right about now. And I think that word right there was I just heard that throughout everybody's press conference speech, as far as whoever it was, even Dean Pease, it was that. So I'm excited to see just what this, these veteran coaches coming in, people that's actually new for the first time doing this. It's going to be interesting to see how this kind of comes together. I see you, Biglow Kuntry Sports. That's one of our AFN crew members as well, Big Country Sports. You guys go ahead and subscribe to him as well. But yeah, I'm excited about it. Anybody else want to add to that?
I want to add to that, and kind of something that piqued my interest is what you're saying is that the veteran, not only with the coaching staff, but as far as the players, is there a feeling as far as you're concerned is that the Falcons want to bring, because when you look at the Atlanta Falcons staff, like not just the coaching staff, but the players, like they didn't have a lot of guys, especially as players. They didn't have a lot of veteran players. They went with a lot of young guys, and a guy like Ricardo Allen, who's is mature. He's incredibly talented. And do you feel is that the Falcons are going towards that, that like that trend of bringing in not only veteran coaches with experience, but do you think they're going towards it like as far as players are concerned?
Well, first off, Ricardo Allen is one of my favorite people in the world. He was always incredibly smart. One of my favorite stories from, I think, past off season, maybe 2 off seasons ago, was that while he was, 2 off seasons, because he was rehabbing from his injury. So he wanted to spend time in the quarterback room and basically learn to see the game through the eyes of a quarterback. It takes a special type of individual to dedicate their free time when they can be at home playing video games to basically say, no, let me sit in here. Even though I'm not on the field, I want to learn how you guys see this because it'll make me a better player. So I think that what you're going to see this offseason is, and it all really depends on not only what is their goal for 2021, but what is their goal for 2022 and 2023, because the decisions that they make regarding the roster will tell a lot and answer that question. If they start kind of parting ways with some of these guys like James Carpenter, like Alan Bailey, to free up the cap space, which they're going to, I think, frankly, have to do anyway. I mean, the math just doesn't work out. Yeah, I think as much as I would hate it, as much as I think a lot of people would hate it, Ricardo Allen kind of finds himself in that situation where they can save a lot of money by letting him go. And even by making all of those moves, even probably by restructuring some contracts, they're not going to be in a position free agency wise to bring in some of these top tier players. So I do think what you will see is them maybe go that veteran route, where for 2 reasons, financially, but also to set a culture in the locker room. They talk about that accountability. Yeah. They're going to want to bring in guys who these coaches know, who maybe they've worked with. And when you bring in players like that, and I think back to 2015, Dan Quinn's first year, when they brought in guys like Brooks Reed, when they brought in Adrian Claiborne, when they brought in, Justin Durant and players like that on 2 to 3 year deals, short-term deals. They're not, the building blocks of the organization, but they come in to set the tone for the rest of the guys. So I think you're going to see players brought in, maybe veteran minimum, and they know coming in, hey, your role is really to your most important focus should be in the locker room. It should be out on the practice field. And you're going to have to get our younger guys, because they're going to have to draft really well. Those guys are going to have to play big roles in 2021, but you're going to need that player leadership to really help bring those guys along so that in 2022 and 2023, you kind of get away from some of those veteran stopgap guys, but the culture has been ingrained in the younger guys that now need to really take on those starting level roles and be superstars moving forward. I think that's what you're going to see. Now, whether they determine some of the veteran players in the locker room are the right guys to do that. And I'm not talking about the Jake Matthews of the world or Julio and Matt. Like those guys are still the core players, but I think Ricardo's an interesting person in that conversation. I think, like Josh Harris, a long snapper. He's been in Atlanta his entire career. He's a veteran. He grew up here. He's from Atlanta. Like, do they think he's somebody who in the locker room is still a valuable voice? Like those types of guys. And it's a really good question. It's something that I'm curious to see and just see from the outside. How do they go about building this roster? Because I think there's a good chance that whatever we see in 2021 isn't necessarily the plan for 2022 and 2023,
Exactly.
But we still want to put a good product out on the field this year. But it's going to be a tight wire walking act.
Okay. And Magnus, I'm going to go ahead and put up the next question since, I'm going to go ahead and let him get this question right here for you, since you already kind of spoke about Matt Ryan and Julio Jones.
Let me preface my statement, Will, by saying this. You might see a little split in the comments after I read this question up. It's always been something around, number two. So,
yeah, it's a taboo topic, Matt Ryan. So you're gonna see some mixed reactions in a minute.
Yeah. So with that being said, with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones confirmed to be staying for 2021, what should the Falcons realistically do at 4? Here we go.
So that's the question, right?
That's the question.
That question. Yeah.
So, all right. There are realistically 3 answers to this, which I'm, to sow even more division. Let's break them all down. The first and probably the most obvious and controversial is quarterback at 4. This is probably as loaded a first round quarterback class as we've seen in a while. Maybe thinking back to like the Baker Mayfield class where you also had, a number of different guys vying for that number 1 spot. And then later on down the draft, certainly that didn't work out with everybody, like Josh Rosen, perfect example there. But that's traditionally what you see in any first round. It's kind of a 50% hit rate. Now, there seems to be at least 4 guys in this discussion, including Trey Lance. If you like Mac Jones, I'm not a huge fan personally, but he could slip in there in the late round. You could see as many as 5 guys go. But in the top 3 to 4, certainly the big names. Trevor Lawrence, he's probably off the board at number 1. Zach Wilson seems to be getting a lot of pre-draft hype, and probably deservedly so. I watched his film recently, and I was impressed. He seems like the perfect person where if you let him learn for a year, he becomes a much better player. And I think wherever he lands, year 1 to year 2, you're going to see a lot of growth from him in a really positive direction, but you can't teach the type of talent that he has. And I like that. Justin Fields and Trey Lance. Those are the other 2 guys. Now I've seen Trey Lance. Some people have him ahead of Justin Fields. Some people have Justin Fields, ahead of Zach Wilson at number 2. Fields incredibly accomplished at the college level, but we've seen Ohio State have a lot of success with a variety of quarterbacks, and that doesn't necessarily translate. So what do you see from Justin Fields? Is it a scheme thing? Is it a talent thing? He's incredibly talented, athletically gifted, has a big arm, can make accurate throws. He's also kind of the biggest question mark though, because you just can't answer that scheme side of it. And what is he going to look like in the NFL? Trey Lance, another huge question mark, kind of for the same reasons. Really athletically gifted, kind of reminds you of a Cam Newton a little bit in his running ability. Even a little Josh Allen to his name, just a bigger physical quarterback, good arm, makes accurate throws, but obviously the level of competition there. So could the Falcons take any of those guys at 4? Possibly. The other thing to factor into this is what does the quarterback situation look like next year, the year after that? Because even if they view Matt Ryan as the short-term answer, if there's not really a true successor in the 2022 draft or the 2023 draft, or even if those classes aren't as good as the one right now, you may not get this chance again. So I wouldn't look at that as an indictment of what they think of Matt Ryan, because I know that they think the world of Matt Ryan. It might just make the most sense to take a guy that you right now instead of trying to wait and hope you're in a situation like this again. So number 2 for that would be just take the best player available. Let's say there's a run of quarterbacks 1, 2, and 3, and you're not sold on Trey Lance, who's the only quarterback left there. Take the best player available. If you've got Penei Sewell, who is a 19-year-old, won the College Football Award for the best offensive lineman in the country at 19, and it is incredibly athletically gifted and talented, you can lock him up and he could be your left tackle for the next 15, 20 years. And Terry Fontenot said they like the best player available approach, which I know made a lot of Falcons fans happy. If they view him as the best player available, they could sit there and take him. They could take Micah Parsons. They could take one of these receivers, even though that might raise some questions of its own. But I do think that Jamar Chase is incredibly gifted, and I think Devontae Smith is also incredible. Like, those two guys would be the best receiver coming out in pretty much any other year. I don't know what they would do in that situation. The third option, and probably the one that I would go with, is try to find a partner to trade back. And they're going to need, like I said, with the cap restraints, they're going to need some guys to build up this 53-man roster, because they're going to have to cut some to get underneath the cap. They're not going to have a lot of money to spend to get that number back to 53. You got to draft some guys. So if I was there and there wasn't a quarterback that I was in love with at 4, and I didn't think that there was a future Hall of Famer in this class at 4, I would try to maybe trade back into the middle of the draft and pick up 2 or 3 picks, is what I would do.
And that's
how
I felt.
I love this guy. I love you. You said everything that we've been talking about. I absolutely love everything that you just said right there. You spoke everything that we've been saying. The money, the financial situation just does not make sense for Atlanta Falcons. That's what we're trying. It's all about finance. I don't care about. I truly believe that if anybody were perfect for what the Falcons need, if they had the money, if it wasn't a cap issue, I think Zach Wilson would be the perfect quarterback for what we need as far as like Matt Ryan. We don't know if Matt Ryan is going to play 2 years, 4 years, 5 years. We don't know at this point. And having a guy like Zach Wilson who has that ability, like he's I wouldn't necessarily say a mobile quarterback. He does okay. I think he compares to me personally as far as his athleticism. He compares to Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is not necessarily a mobile quarterback. He's not necessarily a pocket quarterback. He's does what he needs to do. Right. So I think he's the absolute perfect. So like everything that you said, I absolutely agree with.
All right. Yeah. Go ahead.
You wanted to put $3 in that collection plate for that speech right there.
It's exactly what we've been preaching. You know, I absolutely enjoyed that. So let's go ahead and get into the next question, though. And I guess that's on you, Matt, Mike, since we already kind of got into the Matt Ryan talk just a little bit. All right, so let's go ahead and get in. Yeah. And that went well. It wasn't a lot of mixed reviews on that one, but let's get into this one.
Oh, they gonna wait till later on to come out.
Oh, they coming. Oh, you coming?
And that's one right there, Mike.
Okay. Mine's just a slight bit. Okay, here we go. Just a slight bit delayed a little bit. Have you heard of any potential restructures that could relieve? Why I guess it relieve? All right, relieve some cap stress for the Atlanta Falcons. As far as just the cap straight, the cap restructures. Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Deion Jones, Grady Jarrett. Those guys could quite possibly. Who do you see as far as those 4 guys? Maybe even Jake Matthews. You can kind of throw Jake Matthews in there also as far as cap restructuring their contract to kind of get some cap relief. Who do you feel as though out of those 5 guys who will more likely be the case for a restructure?
All right, so now we're talking here. I've probably spent more time the past 2 days on Spotrac and overthecap.com just trying to figure all of this out, because while those sites don't have the true accurate numbers, it's fairly close. I mean, it's the best chance to kind of see how everything breaks down. I'll start with Matt and Julio, I guess. The thing with both of those guys, we'll start with Matt. So Matt has traditionally done some of the restructuring to give a little bit of cap relief in the past. I mean, he's got a very big signing bonus, which is prorated out through the life of the deal. And that's where the bulk of his cap hit comes from. You can cut that down a little bit by transferring some of that money into a roster bonus, which you can pay, but you have to pay that cash on hand immediately. And that will knock some of that prorated signing bonus down, which gives you a little bit of relief there. But his base salary is not really that high. So, and a restructure, again, the cap hit is big this year. Next year is the chance for you to kind of get out from that deal. So kind of going all the way back to the beginning, it's what does this organization want to do, not just for 2021, but for 2022, 2023? Because if their future plans don't involve Matt Ryan, a short-term restructure here doesn't make a ton of sense outside of maybe converting some of that to a roster bonus, which, maybe Matt's a fan of, because he'd get a little bit of that money up front. And if the team's going to move on from him, he'll still probably make a little bit more than he would. He may also be open to a little bit of a restructure, but you're then bumping up that money next year, which is going to make it maybe a little bit harder to move him or, just let him go. Because right now his contract's very prohibitive now. You can make a little bit of money back next year, even if you just decide to release him if you can't find a trade partner. The Julio side of everything is a totally different animal, because virtually all of his contract is guaranteed money. So he doesn't really have any incentive to come to the table and try to work out a deal, because if he just kind of stands pat, he's making all of that money anyway. If he comes and they work out a deal to bump his stuff down this year and then they move on from him next year, he might not see all of that money. So the way that his contract is set up, he's good with. And even then, there's not a ton that the team could do to free up some cap space with those two guys. What you're really looking at is, 3 players who, if you release these 3, you'll save around, I think, $15 million in cap space. And that is Ricardo Allen, Alan Bailey, and James Carpenter. Those 3 seem like logical cuts to me on paper. Jake Matthews probably is not a great candidate to restructure his deal, because his signing bonus is already so high. It's about like $7 million a year. And what are your long-term plans with Jake Matthews? The guys that you're really going to look to maybe restructure their deals are the guys that you foresee maybe being part of a core to build around over the next 3 to 5 years. So those 2 that make the most sense are Grady Jarrett and Deion Jones.
I want to add to that Jake Matthews. I think, no, that was Alex Mack. I'll take that back. That was Alex Mack talking about he's interested. Well, it looks good for the 49ers. So that's a different player.
I saw that as well. And that makes sense. He's a California boy. Go back and play with Kyle. But Deion and Grady probably make the most sense. Grady especially because his dead cap next year is so small that it could be a situation where, like, the team, to save a lot of cap space next year, potentially could move on from Grady Jarrett. That's the way his deal's worked out. So if he may want to come to the table and say, let's restructure, free up a little bit of cap space this year, bump that maybe to next year where it doesn't make me as easy to move. And then Deion Jones is the same way. But what's so tricky, the reason the Falcons cap situation is so weird and bizarre is because you have 5 players whose cap hit this year is over $18 million. You only have 10 total whose cap hit, 9 total whose cap hit is over $5 million. So it just goes off a cliff. You're paying the top 5 guys so much money that there's really nothing else for you to do with anybody else. and they can't really move on from any of those 5 guys. You know, Dante Fowler is in that mix, and you know, so it's Julio, it's Matt, it's Jake Matthews, it's Dante Fowler, and it's Grady. Those are the top 5. But then outside of that, like I said, the guys that they're looking could potentially move on from, there just aren't a lot of guys that fall into that category where you could say, like the Saints, you're probably going to see them releasing a lot of players, but they may have worked those deals out knowing that the time bomb that was Drew Brees' retirement was going to hit, and they weren't going to be able to do anything about it. So they gave themselves probably some outs this year, next year, depending on whenever he was going to retire, where they could release these guys and get that money back. The Falcons don't have a ton of options to do that. So outside of restructuring maybe Grady and Dion, and they could restructure some of the other deals, but it's just, again, kind of kicking the can down the road. The question is, do we take a hit this year, call 2021 not a wash, but it just know that we're going to really be strapped and probably bare bones a little bit from a roster standpoint. Yeah. But then in 2022, 2023, we're in a much better financial situation to really do what they want to do. Or do they still try to scrap everything together, maybe take a hit in 2022 as well, to at least put something together for 2021 and 2022? I mean, that's really where it's at, but there's not a ton of options, honestly. Again, people smarter than me are working on all of this stuff, so maybe they've got something. And you can always figure out some things with the cap, but again, only to some extent. I mean, the numbers are what they are, and you can only manipulate them so much.
And we have a question right here from Robert Bennett. I have a question. Would it make financial sense to extend Grady and Debo to clear money now?
It could potentially, whether you could probably knock their money down this year and maybe even next year, but does the staff that's in place, do they really truly see those guys as long-term parts of this team? You know, if Dean Pease really wants to maybe move into more of a 3-man front, is Grady Jarrett the right type of player for that? Maybe not. Probably not. I mean, he's more of a one-gap penetrating defensive tackle. So could he play on the end? Could he be a 3 technique? Probably in that thing, but does he hold up against the run, and can he play 2-gap? Deion Jones, you know, if they go to a 4 linebacker thing, is he a good enough pass rusher where he could play off the edge? Is he big enough to be more of an inside linebacker? Maybe. That's the type of conversation that they're having. But as far as the restructuring of the contract, I'm sure that could be talked about, extending those guys. You know, again, that could work, but doesn't make sense for them to add extra years onto a deal and make similar money to what they're doing now, as opposed to maybe hitting free agency and landing a bigger deal. From a player standpoint, that may not, and their agents may not want them to come to the table just to say, hey, if we tack on two extra years, and frankly, that doesn't even really impact the current years on their deal. A lot of times those are just added on years, and their contract doesn't really take effect until 2023, 2024, whenever the new extension kicks in, and the same deal is in place up until then. So the restructuring standpoint makes sense, but the extension, while it would maybe the whole overall number of the deal would change, the year-to-year breakdown doesn't really change all that much.
Okay. And you know what? You going into our next question. You brought up free agency, so I'll go ahead and get that one up here. Any potential free agents you would like to see come to Atlanta?
Oh, I'd like to see a lot, but whether or not they will, that's an entirely different question. Because, like I said, it just, I mean, financially, I would be surprised if they're able to land like one mid-tier guy. I mean, I really think it's going to be a lot of players who are probably in their 30s or in their 20s with some injury questions, who these coaches know. They know them personally. They're coming in here to set the culture. They're coming in here, you know, to maybe do one or two things really well. Or the flip side, you know, they're young, they've got potential, but they've got injury question marks. And so other teams are maybe skittish. Their price tag is much lower. But maybe if everything falls right, you view them as part of the future of this team. it would be somebody like Shaq Barrett, who I know has become a tremendous player in Tampa Bay. But when he kind of went to Tampa Bay, it was on a prove it deal. It was on a situation where they didn't know what they were getting. It was the perfect match between coordinator and player, and it worked out for all parties involved. But I think you're going to see some more of those types of moves where it's like, really, they're going after this guy. They have so many more problems. Like, what is this guy going to do to help? And it's less that they don't want to fill any of these gaps, that they don't want to plug any of these holes and make the overall roster better. It probably is more internal than anything else. You're going to see a lot more locker room moves, I think, than on the field moves. That being said, I did write down like a couple of things because I think you're going to see more stuff on the defense than on the offense, because that's where the biggest transition is going to take place. Now, a thing that I really liked that both Arthur Smith and Dean Pease said a lot was that they will match their scheme to what the players do best. And that seems kind of common, but a big thing that we saw over kind of like the previous 5 years was they had a template that they wanted to utilize. They wanted to find players that fit that scheme. So Dean Pease saying he wants to be multiple, but that he's going to tailor things to what his players do well, probably means that he knows the type of exact defense that he wants. He's going to want versatile players, but in the interim, what does Deion Jones do best? What does Foye do best? What does AJ Terrell do really well? Like, he's going to tailor his stuff to the players on hand while also probably bringing in some guys for what he ultimately wants to do in year 2 and year 3. That's why I think we're going to see situations, probably the safety position. He traditionally has liked the cover 2, cover 4 look. Obviously, the safeties in Atlanta were more cover 1, cover 3, a box safety, a center fielder. That also couples with the fact that Keanu Neal is a free agent, DeMonte KZ is a free agent, and Ricardo Allen, is a big cap number for you to potentially save that money on. So I could see them retooling that position a lot. And Jaquiski Tart out at San Francisco is a guy that Pro Football Focus had his kind of projected contract a little bit lower. Malik Hooker at Indianapolis, good player, highly rated draft player, but injury history.
Thank you.
There you go. But he's got big injury question marks, which probably drives his price tag down. He does have experience playing in cover 2, and he was in the AFC South, so there's connections there. That's kind of what you've got to look for when you're looking at, all right, what are the pieces that they could do? Another big obvious connection here, Daquan Jones on the defensive line. You're going to have to slowly start to transition your defensive line if you want to be multiple, because these guys were very much clearly one gap penetrating defenders that they wanted on their defensive line. If you're going to switch that around, they don't have those 2 gap players on the roster right now. So Daquan Jones has some experience doing that at Tennessee with Dean Pease. Derek Wolfe in Baltimore. Dean Pease says he really liked kind of the Baltimore defenders, some of the Pittsburgh defenders, things like that. So look for players who are maybe a little older in their careers, they're veterans, but there's a connection to this coaching staff, or the coaching staff, has admired them from afar. But again, I don't think this is going to be a year where you're getting the big name or even like a Todd Gurley level signing.
Okay. We'll go ahead and get into, let's see, a couple of comments here. Shaq Barrett price tag will be 17 to 18 million per year. That's a fact. I've seen a comment earlier about you need to join Atlanta Falcons Nation. I saw that earlier today, so they're putting it out there for you, definitely. But let's go ahead and get into the next question here. We're moving right along. So we already kind of talked about the free agency. So this is on you, Kstlyz. Here you are.
Hey, 3-4 is back. Hey, so what you think about the schemes coming to Atlanta? Like you said, we got the 3-4 and we got the zone blocking come back.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm curious how quickly it's a 3-4 for all of the reasons just kind of that I mentioned. The personnel on hand, how much can you truly tweak that in year 1 given the financial limitations? But What makes that easier is somebody like Michael Walker. And I saw somebody just in the comments kind of bring that up. He's the Swiss Army knife. What he did at Fresno State was pretty much play that hybrid defensive end linebacker position. If Dean Pease sees that, and we know Dante Fowler can do kind of the same thing, all of a sudden you could have a very athletic interior with Dion and Foye while also having your two primary pass rushers in Michael Walker and Dante Fowler. So that seems tailor-made to be a 3-4. The question is, Marlon Davidson, Grady Jarrett, are they 3-4 defensive ends? They're certainly not nose tackles. I mean, so what can you do? Now, fortunately, that's probably a cheaper free agent signing than most other positions. There aren't a ton of teams that run a 3-4, and those guys aren't really valued for their pass rush potential. They're bigger run stuffing guys. So, perhaps you could probably draft somebody in the 3rd or 4th round with that role in mind. So that potentially could be done fairly easily. I do like the multiple aspect. I'm not a huge fan, despite, Todd Bowles' noted blitzer. What he did so well in the Super Bowl was not blitz. He did the simulated pressure things, which is something that I think Raheem Morris, Jeff Ulbrich really tried to do a lot. I think Dan Quinn did at times as well, where you're really only bringing 4, but you're giving the appearance of blitzing because they're coming from various spots on the field. You're not always bringing the same 4. And so you're trying to confuse the quarterback after the snap. I don't know right now if the Falcons have the best personnel in the secondary to be able to withstand, blitzing. If you're going to be in man coverage, do you really trust maybe Isaiah Oliver in that role? If somebody's going deep downfield, do you have the safety play to really give somebody help on the boundary? Maybe. I don't know. But the multiple thing I like, because I think the most creative, and he has said he will make it simpler in the secondary and more complex up front. And I think that's the right approach. Those guys don't have to do as much. And especially when you've got coverage linebackers to the capacity of Dion and Foye, that makes it a little bit easier to probably get complicated because those guys can maybe take some stuff away in the middle of the field. So from a defensive side, it'll be interesting. It'll be certainly a break from what they've been doing. The personnel is really just the biggest question mark as to how well that can be executed in year one. But I like that they've got a veteran staff. I think they're going to hit the ground running. I know that Dean Pease and Arthur Smith have a great relationship and that they always seek to not only test each other in practice during the weeks, but, I read that what they would do is, hey, I know that this isn't anything that we do. I need you to give me this look in practice for a few reps because my guys need to see this. And some coaches are more willing to do that than others. Some coaches are saying, I need to get my guys ready, so we need to run what we need to run and all of this stuff. But those two having that relationship in the past have done that. And that should make the entire team better because you're coming into the week having seen a lot of different looks that you expect to see on Sunday. From an offensive standpoint, I love that Arthur Smith said, we're gonna fit the scheme to the players. I do think it's going to be based in that like Kyle Shanahan, Matt LaFleur outside zone, but it's all about how you coach that. And one of the best things that I liked when I was doing some research is the offensive line coach and the running backs coach have a history together. They were both on the North Carolina State staff for 4 to 5 years. That pairing is so crucial from a coaching standpoint, and it's one of the reasons why Kyle Shanahan has brought Bobby Turner with him every step of the way. It's one thing to be able to block something correctly. Your running backs have to know what they're looking for. They have to be totally in sync. It's like a running back and a quarterback on a handoff, on a play action. They have to know where they're going to be without even looking at what the quarterback's doing because you're focused on what you're doing. So I think that one of the biggest probably indictments offensively over the past couple of seasons was, the coaching of the run game, because it certainly wasn't, it kind of didn't matter who you were putting back there. There just weren't the holes that were opened when Kyle Shanahan was here. And even when Sark was here. Sorry, I was blanking on the name.
I know it's been a while.
So that's something that I think is going to be very valuable because we saw the success that Arthur Smith had with the run game in Tennessee. Everything stemmed from that. And then finally, the creativity in the red zone. That comes from creativity. That comes from knowing what your players can do incredibly well and putting them in position to highlight that skill. Arthur Smith had success in his 2 seasons as an offensive coordinator, number 1 in the league in 2019, number 2 in the league in 2020. He's proven he can do it. I like the fact that he could bring that here because that's an area that the team has struggled in recent seasons. So, yeah, I like from a schematic standpoint, I think they're at least saying all the right things. Can they execute it on the field? And that ultimately happens during the week. It's cliche, but the connection between Arthur Smith and Dean Pease gives me confidence that they'll get off to the right start.
I'm excited about that. I definitely am. I think I had a question in the chat, and then guys, if you guys have anything, you want to go ahead, and we'll get to that question after that. You can go ahead, Magnus.
Yeah, I was gonna piggyback off of what Will said, and a lot of fans believe that because of where Arthur Smith is coming from and the running game, and they believe that we need to have like a Derrick Henry type. So I'm trying to think, like, you believe that we need to free Quadri, because a lot of us is waiting for Quadri to be, maybe like the lead back. Do you believe that you need somebody like that big, or do you need, like, you can put anybody back there to be able to have success? Todd Gurley wanted to, come back. So what's your thoughts on that?
So I asked Arthur Smith, that during his introductory press conference, and it led to probably the best quote, which was, something along the lines of like Derrick Henry with Shaq. There's only one Shaq in the NBA. And I think he's right about that. Obviously, he saw Derrick Henry up close and got to work with him every day. He knows that guys like that just aren't growing on trees. So it's really hard to sit there and say, well, we just need to get our own Derrick Henry. There's 31 other teams around the league that are like, well, why don't we just get our own Derrick Henry? They just don't exist. But I think it's notable that kind of prior to Arthur Smith really taking over as the play caller, Derrick Henry he was the physical presence, but he wasn't the productive running back that he became with Arthur Smith. And I think that kind of ties back to a lot of this stuff happens up front. The reason that the 49ers are so frustrating for every fantasy football owner in the world is because they can kind of put any running back there. The scheme is such, and it's coached to a way, and the offensive line blocks it so well that any of those guys could rip off a 15-yard run on any given play. So when you've got Derrick Henry, that 15-yard run turns into a 55-yard run, but there are a lot of running backs that can do that. So no, I don't think, and Arthur Smith said they don't necessarily need to go try to find their own Derrick Henry. If they have to do it by running back by committee, they'll do that. If they think that they can find somebody in free agent, like James Conner is going to be a free agent. Could you get similar physical qualities? Yes, James Conner does still have some injury questions, but at his best, he's a really good player, and he's still young. I mean, he could be your number one back with a little bit of help, and then you rotate in guys like Ito Smith and things like that. Brian Hill has some physical qualities. He's tall. He runs hard. So the name brand isn't necessarily what I would look at as the most important thing. It's how well do they fit the scheme. Tevin Coleman's the perfect outside zone runner because he has such good one cut and home run ability. Now, he also probably leads the league in getting tackled by the safety 40 yards down the field because he's not a very agile runner. But he did that one thing really well, and that's what you got to look for. So I don't think they need, and I don't think they think that they need their own Derrick Henry. They just need to figure out the best thing for the Atlanta Falcons run game, because Derrick Henry is the best thing for the Tennessee Titans run game because he is the Tennessee Titans run game. They don't have that luxury. They've got to figure out how to just make the best Atlanta Falcons run game, whether that's by committee or whether they do think they need a one player who can touch the ball 25 times. Then they'll go that route. But there aren't too many of those players in the league right now.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Anyone else had a question? Because I was going to get to the chat as well. But anybody else had something? Go ahead, Kstlyz.
No. All right. So with DPs and Arthur Smith in here, how many fights you think going to happen in practice?
Oh man. I don't know. Hopefully a couple. Those aren't ever a bad thing, especially so when the reason accountability is so important, and you kind of brought up accountability is a really big talking point during their press conferences, because there wasn't the quote or the soundbite of fast and physical that there was, kind of during DQ's opening thing. But I think you could say accountability was certainly the theme of the introductory week with the coaches and with Terry Fontenot. And I think that it's important not only just to preach the accountability, but to practice every single day that accountability. I would say that I think one of the faults kind of in the later years of the DQ era was, all right, you're going to preach competition. You're going to say iron sharpens iron. But when players aren't necessarily performing to the level that you expect from them, what are the consequences to that? When Vic Beasley is not putting together the weeks for four games and the production's not there, players notice that he's still a starter. Players notice that what's happening. And if people aren't going to be held accountable for ultimately what is the most important thing, and that is production on the field, what are the consequences of that? Mm-hmm. And if he's able to not perform and he's still keeping his job, then maybe I work a little less hard, because ultimately there aren't that many consequences. So it's one thing to say that. What will really matter is, do we see that accountability in action and in practice? Because you could argue that there should have been much greater rotation on the defensive line. When we see guys like Jacob Tuioti Mariner getting sacks, when we see Charles Harris getting some sacks, these guys who were on the practice squad at times, like coming up and getting involved, it makes you wonder, okay, why weren't these guys maybe given some of the opportunities when things weren't working with your starters? So that would be one thing. If you see a couple of fights, I would say that, yeah, guys are getting heated, guys are getting competitive. And that's not a great thing. You don't want guys like in the locker room hating each other, but if you're going to sit there and say, we want you to be competitive, we want to compete, we want to hold you accountable, yeah, we want these guys to take it personally sometimes.
Oh yeah,
I would love to see Caleb McGarry knock the hell out of somebody.
He would kill somebody.
He's playing.
I know they was tired of bringing moon pies to the pizza party. We need some toughness out there.
We have a question from Carrie Calamia. Do you think we should keep Gurley? I was surprised at how many people online said we should give him another chance under Smith. Personally, think he wasn't productive enough for us, and he's not the same Gurley since injury. What do you feel about that?
I mean, I think I agree. I think I agree with that. Which sucks. I mean, I went to Georgia. I was there at the same time as Todd Gurley. I was at that Auburn game where he came back, looked as explosive as ever, and I've never heard that many people as quiet as they were when he got hurt again. So, I mean, Todd Gurley's one of my favorite players of all time. That being said, he just didn't have that same burst, and I think he still has burst. I mean, he can still be a decent running back in this league. I mean, he was the most productive running back this year of any Falcons running back since 2017. So, I mean, he still can be of use to other teams. I don't know if it would have to be for the right price. The new coaching staff would have to want to think that Todd Gurley's still that guy, and ultimately their judgment is the only one that matters. But if you're bringing him back, it's probably again in the same committee role. I mean, I think it's fairly telling that his role with the team kind of transitioned late in the year to basically third downs and in the red zone. And I remember talking to somebody at the start of the year who said that the issue with Todd Gurley is not going to be August, September, October. The issue with Todd Gurley is going to be November, December, when, he's healthy enough at the start of the year, but once the grind really starts happening, once you're getting all of those reps, that's when you're going to start feeling it. That's when you're going to have to take time off during the week. That's when you're going to have to, you're going into games with much more attention being paid to your leg in pregame to get it ready to go. And you need your best players playing their best in November and December. You don't need them at that point kind of breaking down. So that would be my concern with Gurley. And frankly, I think he might even still be out of their price range. I'd rather see them draft a guy in the 3rd, 4th round, and roll with that, and then Ito Smith and Brian Hill.
Okay. Mike, you had anything else? And then we're going to get to the last one.
Not necessarily one more question, but it was kind of observational based on what you were saying, and based on something that I recognize as far as watching film. And one thing that I like with Dean Pease is that you kind of brought up the idea of them playing more cover 2, a lot of 2-man safeties instead of that 3-man. Because I honestly think with the issues with the financial issues, you got guys like DeMonte Casey, who is familiar with the team, but not necessarily the coaching staff. I think he'll be a guy. He's young enough to rebound, kind of rebound from his Achilles injury. I think he would fit a 2-man scheme a lot better than most. We know that he has the ball skills, but it comes down to whether or not is he physically ready to come back. And I really like the idea that you brought up as far as Dean Pease, not necessarily saying that he's going to stick with a 3-4 scheme. He's going to adapt to the personnel. And I truly believe that if he sticks that route, the Falcons will be okay. And I really believe that the Falcons are going to be more of a 2-man scheme. I think that's a lot easier, especially with the way that the NFL is right now. We kind of saw that towards the end with the Super Bowl, even with the Bucks, where they pretty much went to a 2-man scheme and they pretty much shut down the Chiefs. So I think that's the way to go. So that's a great point. I love that you point that out.
The Bucks had 3 safeties back there sometimes. they were.
Wow.
They were bringing out the umbrella and putting it out. They weren't letting anything get deep.
2-4-5. They played the 2-4-5.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this last portion of it. We don't want to hold up too much of your time. So let's get back to you. And that question is, what's next for you? Any interesting projects on the horizon? And it's probably going to go ahead and plug what you're doing currently. So you can go ahead and just let us know a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, currently right now, just trying to look for that next project, next opportunity. As I kind of mentioned to you guys before, I'm hoping to maybe land somewhere a little bit recognizable, prominent. But whether that's, still in Atlanta covering, another team somewhere else, ideally, I'd love to get to the point covering kind of the entire NFL, the league as a whole. It makes, when you're going through a 4-12 season, sometimes it's hard to write some stories that people really get excited about. It would be much easier to kind of transition and be like, here's why Tampa Bay is really exciting down the stretch or whatever. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now, looking for that next opportunity. If anybody hears of anything, please let me know.
Atlanta Falcons Nation.
It out there. Yeah. We're getting there. We're gonna get there.
No, I see, and that's the fun is like while I'm continuing to do that, I get to do things like this, and I love doing things like this. For as long as people want to hear from me, I enjoy. It's the same reason why I got into it in the first place. Talking about football is so much fun. It doesn't feel like work. I'll gladly sit here for an hour on Saturday and do this stuff. It's so much fun, which is why I also, to continue writing, I started up a Substack where I probably will be some Falcon stuff because that's what I know. But I'll probably also try to work in just some larger NFL things. Certainly a lot of draft stuff probably coming. But right now, currently, maybe on Monday, I'm going to roll out just kind of like a 5 biggest questions the Falcons need to answer this offseason, which probably will reflect a lot of this conversation that we just had, but that's a good thing because it's what everybody's talking about until we get some concrete news coming out of Flowery Branch. So yeah, that's basically where I'm at.
Okay, and you guys got the link in the chat, so go ahead and subscribe to the newsletter. I'm already subscribed myself, and it's on the link on the screen as well. You got something, Mike?
One more question. This is something that we always ask our guests. Is there something about you that no one may not know? Like, this is there something interesting about Will, or Willie Boy as I call him, people may not know.
That they may not know.
Any hobbies, anything that outside of journalism that people don't know? You know, we had some former players come on that said they like to draw and do things.
Do you like hot dogs? Do you like tacos? Do you?
Well, I mean, I am a really good cook.
Okay.
I do. I'm a fairly big cinephile, so I like, in downtime, try to watch a lot of movies. My wife and I hosted an Oscar party last year. That was like the last time we did anything. I played rugby in college at Georgia, so that's something. Yeah, I mean that
we need him out there playing safety.
Oh yeah. He the real hitter out there, boy.
No, all right. So this is something, because it's bullshit. Is North Carolina? They have football players from their college team play rugby for them in the off season. And so when we played North Carolina at one point, there were some like 6'7", 250-pound dudes who I was trying to tackle. And I was like, that guy's a third-string defensive end, and they just want to keep him active in the offseason.
Yeah.
So we didn't have any guys like that, unfortunately.
Biglow Kuntry said, "What you cooking?" Go ahead, Magnus, and then we'll answer Biglow question.
No, I'm just putting it out there that I want to challenge Will McFadden. If you're a fantasy football player, I want a piece of that action, man. I'm gonna get into the DM. And we're gonna play some fantasy football. This off season.
I'm good at fantasy football.
Oh, okay.
I'm good at fantasy football.
Is that a challenge?
Don't ask me to do that challenge.
And Biglow Kuntry Sports said, "What are you cooking?" in the Gary Coleman voice.
All right. Well, so to celebrate the end of the season, I went and dropped like $150 on a brisket to try and smoke a brisket for the first time ever. To moderate success, I would say, but I'll have to perfect that recipe. I don't actually have a smoker, so I had to kind of like jerry rig my grill with a smoke box. But I'm always trying to perfect the best rib recipe, because that's my favorite food in the world. Just on a normal night, chicken, burgers, trying to get a little bit more vegetarian once or twice a week.
That means we're coming over. AFN is coming over to eat at Will's house. That's what we're going to be doing.
So, but yeah, no, I mean, just kind of the usual. Breakfast as well. Love a good breakfast for dinner.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Me
Absolutely.
too.
Yep.
We had a wonderful time.
Well, KSTYLZ dropped off, and you played rugby in college. Is that what Carrie has mentioned?
Yeah.
Okay.
Outside center, if anybody knows what that is. But
Okay.
But that is the go ahead. Yeah, he's a tough guy. So that's the end of our interview portion of the show. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, we kind of keep the show going. So everybody, if you have the link, make sure you subscribe to his newsletter. Like he said, he's going to put some things out, and it may not all be about Falcons, but nonetheless, subscribe to this guy until he gets on somewhere. We're happy to have him on. It was an honor to have you on. Like, this is, to us, you are a celebrity for us, because you are our go-to source for Falcons news. So I don't care if you're not with the Atlanta Falcons anymore, you're still our go-to source, because we just want to hear what you have to say about those Falcons or any team. So that's why I went on to subscribe. So guys, go ahead and subscribe with that link I put in the chat. I'll put that banner back up so you can find it. But this has been an honor. This has really been
absolutely my pleasure. It was a lot of fun. I miss these types of conversations. You used to have them every single day in the office, and unfortunately that's no longer the case. But it's, again, why we all love sports is this type of stuff. So I really appreciate you guys having me on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I hope this is not a off thing, man. I hope this is not a off thing because we really enjoyed your input and it brings a lot of legitimacy to the things that we're saying. Because we're coming from like the fan perspective, but we also know what we're talking about. But when you have somebody that actually has their finger on the pulse, like of the team, it brings like a whole different type of relevancy to our program. And I appreciate you taking an hour of your time, just to speak to a couple of fans, and I really appreciate that. I hope it's not just a one-off thing. You can come back, anytime you want.
Oh, you're welcome to come back. It's anytime you want. You're just bored and say, you know what? I think I want to do a show. We're gonna do it. If you just feel like you want to talk like this, we are open to it because we enjoyed you. So, but we thank you for coming on. Of course, we're gonna stick back and continue our show for maybe another 30 minutes, you guys. Probably not another 2 hours, another hour.
Sweet. Thank you guys so much. This has been great.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys. All right. Thank you, Will. And of course, we're going to keep in contact with you as well. So thank you. He was awesome, you guys. I'm glad you guys got the chance to hear him speak.
Hey, man.
Willie boy.
Hey, Willie boy.
Hey. Hey, he said I can call him Willie boy. Hey, but I think this was incredibly informative. This is why we continue to bring a lot of people on the show, like Chuck Smith, Jamal Anderson, Reggie Kelly. Like, we bring all these guys on the show so we can give you guys nothing but the truth and the facts, and not just hear our point of view. These guys has been with the organization. They are NFL employees and they know the game. And today, he pretty much confirmed everything that we've been saying. The Falcons, when it comes down financially, the Falcons are just screwed. They can't do anything. They can't do anything with Grady. They can't do anything with Julio Jones, Matt Ryan. These guys are just basically screwed. So when it comes down to it, man, we're just going to have to, at this point, the way that he broke down the cap, the Falcons are just going to have to trade back and get they're going to have to get some picks because that not only do they have money they don't have money they barely have it for the draft, but they got to make some cuts, get these guys off of and restructuring. You pretty much heard what he said. He said restructuring Matt Ryan and Julio Jones is not going to do anything to get them more money. So we're looking at the Falcons at this point. They're going to have to draft well, and they're going to have to to kind of get more picks. So I hate to bust your bubbles, all you Falcons fans out there who think we're going to just sweep up a lot of players in free agency and get JJ Watt and all these guys. It's not happening, man. And like I said, this is the reason why we have guys on. We have these guys on the show is to give you guys nothing but the truth and the facts of the matter. So Kstlyz, I know you want to start looking at these people comments, these comments.
I think Biglow want to get on too. Let me go ahead and get him in here.
Well, but yeah, like I said, so for those that didn't understand what he just said, let me give you the K-style spin on it. We ain't got no damn money.
We ain't got a damn thing. We have no money. Even if we somehow restructure Julio Jones and Matt Ryan, that still would not do anything for this team. So we're gonna have to trade down to at least get more players on who get more players as far as like the younger players that come in, train them up, and be that backup behind Grady Jarrett. Like, we don't have no damn money. We ain't got no damn money. We ain't got nothing.
We broke.
Well, we asked out. Asked all the way out.
J-Rock one up. And we got a couple of people that want to get on. Let me get them on in here because we always continue our show.
Behind up, man. Up here doing all that. Trying to get pretty and all that. Bring y'all behind on.
You try. Oh, Lord.
Here we go. 22, we might not even have money to get to bring back our Ken O'Neal. So it's like, look, man, y'all, like I said, this we tried to tell you guys about this salary cap, but nobody wanted to. They don't really want to pay it. They don't pay any attention. When it all comes down to it, y'all, if you want to blame anybody on this team, you should be blaming Thomas Dimitroff for screwing us with these dumb deals and paying guys like Devontae Freeman NFL record money and all this type of stuff. Like this, he screwed us. He screwed us for years, and with these dumb contracts, giving guys like Ray Edwards. I think he gave him like $20-30 million at the time. So it's like that dude has been the worst enemy for the Atlanta Falcons for a minute.
J-Rock, what's up?
Hey.
What's up? How you
What's
doing?
happening? Hey, that was real good getting him on here. That was like really awesome because everybody tired of hearing our mouths and talk all the time. I mean, it's good to have a new voice talk, meaning that he used to write for the Atlanta Falcons. So it was different. That was good, and it was a relief for some. So it's cool because everybody get tired of hearing our mouths. So
yeah, you're right.
we think about it all the time. Now.
I mean, some points though, because what we've been saying for quite some time, but we got a bit more expert opinions.
Right.
That kind of wasn't in line with what Atlanta Falcons Nation been preaching for this whole time.
Yep.
Absolutely.
He was on
good.
The same accord.
Rock, what stood out to you out of everything that he said?
I mean, his honesty. His honesty about every single thing, like from start to finish, like every answer that you guys had for him, it was just really honest. Like the whole, do you think there'll be some fights going on, when it comes to training camp, and who do you think will stay, and what the contracts are looking like, and who would he want to, if he was in the shoes to draft somebody at number 4, who would he draft? Everything was honest. As much as we pick on Ricardo Allen and stuff like that, everything was so true. It was just the honesty about that. That's why I would say, hey, bring him on again, because he's going to give you just nothing but honesty. He's not.
Be in that DM like, hey, because we're trying to do a draft show, and I would love to have him on if he don't got any other obligations to come on for that draft show. That would be dope.
Yeah, that'll be really good, especially like as the draft goes along. Like, what does he think? Like, his honest opinion. Like, I just love how honest he was throughout this whole show.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. I think Biglow trying to get in the building as well. Go ahead and get the old crew back together. J-Rock. So, some of the questions that we had, do you feel like one of the questions I didn't get to was what position should we go in towards the draft and everything? Like, what should we target in the draft?
I've always been saying this, depending on what we do in the free agency and what's more valuable, because I think, to be honest with you, if we're at number 4 and that number 4 spot is very valuable, especially for other teams, may not be, well, especially it's valuable for us too at the same time. But like he was saying, we can draft back and get more out of it along the way. So honestly, I would just feel the real big issue, and I would just address the DN. But if we are at 4 and Penei Sewell is right there, why not grab him? Just like Will said, he's 19 and he's like a mauler. So why not have him on your team? So I would just say get what you can, because honestly, these draft picks that we have are going to be, these have to be like playmakers for this team, because we're not going to be able to splash that much in the free agency at all. So if we can get like some good, caliber players in the first and second and third round that could get us over the hump, then by all means. But I would go after Penei Sewell if he's there.
I think that's who we're I think the rumor is that's who we're that's high kind of on the radar for the Atlanta Falcons. It might be some mock draft types things going on, but I think that that's who everybody's trying to go towards if it's not going to be quarterback. So I think that's I like it.
But I can see some trade base going on. Like I feel like if we end up doing like, I don't know, I'm gonna just throw out a scenario. If we get a quarterback or something like that, say if we drafted it, that could be a bait. Maybe we could just bait somebody to like, okay, so they got a quarterback that we possibly could have wanted, right? And then we can probably trade that away. You know what I'm saying? I'm just throwing out scenarios. Not saying it's going to actually happen, but you never know.
Absolutely. Biglow Kuntry.
What in the world?
What in the world, boss? Did you catch the show?
Man, great show, y'all. Great show. I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed listening to Will's perspective about everything, man. I really enjoyed the show. Definitely. Y'all did a great job. Great job.
Thank you. We're going to try to have him on back with us for the regular show, like a draft show, because everybody been talking about that. They want us to go to live during the show. I think that's something we might end up making happen. So we need all the Atlanta Falcon Nation's crew to be up on here for that draft. So even if it's just for the first round, just to get that initial reaction, but you're going to be in the stadium watching it, but just to get the initial reaction from the fans or whoever we pick, I think that's going to be epic. So I think we just need to go ahead and do something like that. So all you fans, if you listen to us now, let us know that's what you want, and we probably will go ahead and bring it to you. I think that's something that we might do.
Yeah, definitely. So I just want to come on and ask everybody. So after that interview with Will, are y'all looking at the whole trajectory of this offseason? Are y'all looking at it differently, or the feelings that y'all had coming into the offseason, did y'all feel pretty much the same way that you feel now?
I think with the way Atlanta Falcons Nation has been kind of going, especially with each one of you guys, I think that it's been aligned with what we honestly been saying. So it just was a different expert perception to what we've been talking about. But I feel like with Yulo, Matt Mike, Magnus, J-Rock, and just Kstlyz, that you guys are kind of realistic with what you're talking about with the Atlanta Falcons, so I felt like it was in line, and he felt comfortable with what we just been trying to speak, like actually Biglow did a mock draft last night about, and if y'all haven't tuned into that, make sure you tune into that. But
that was fun to watch too. I was in there.
Yeah, Rock was in there. Yeah,
I was on there a little bit too. But if y'all haven't checked that out as well, he was doing a realistic mock draft. If y'all haven't caught that yet, but I just felt like it was in line with what Atlanta Falcons Nation has been speaking on. That's why I feel so.
Yeah, it's like whenever we did that mock draft, and it's kind of like what we were saying last night with the mock drafts. Of course, things are going to fall completely different, and you never know what someone might take. It might be a case where someone takes Mitchell Trubisky over Deshaun Watson. You never know, but we got to keep it. It's just different scenarios that we can kind of look at and see how things may fall. So there are going to be multiple ones, and this time I just wanted to highlight the benefits of trading back. So for everyone in the comments who didn't see it, by the time we got finished trading back, we had 3 picks in the second round. And, we got a chance to get like 5 starters just from the draft alone. So, so I think the next time all these names that we're talking about, we might take a different player. I know everybody's getting naked for Sewell. It's okay to get naked sometimes. Everybody's getting naked for Sewell. So, we might take a look at that, next time. So, yeah, it was fun.
It was.
You see him, you see a 19-year-old tossing around some 21-year-olds like they kids, you would get naked for a Sewell.
Yeah,
but like you said, at the end of the day, we don't know what's gonna happen.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
We may trade up, trade back, stayed in the same position. You don't know where they're going with it, honestly.
That's what I was telling Biglow in the comments last night. Well, actually, I posted it today, but I was like, man, you really opened my eyes on like what possibly could be. Like what you did with that whole, I believe, what was it, PFF.com, right? The mock?
Yeah, I can't remember. I know my brother, he set it up for me. He's the tech whiz, so I'm not even sure.
Okay. Yeah, because I seen you do what you did. So like we grabbed, you projected, we grabbing Najee Harris, like you said, potential, like a lot of good starters. So like you traded back and got like about 3 or 4 picks, and they were all potential starters. So I was like, wow, like he made it, like the whole broad part about it was like we can get a whole lot out of it. One thing that we could do if we trade back, we can get so much out of it.
Yeah.
And you showed that all last night.
Yeah, but you got to remember though, man. Homeboy Mike, he put that video up last night or yesterday about everybody, Fontenot and Smith looking at Trevor Lawrence, looking at Sunshine, just like Miss Maggie said. They might try to trade up. You never know. Monkeys do fall out of trees sometimes. They might try to trade up.
Yeah. One drive could ruin everything else for everybody else. They like, oh no, we gotta do a plan B.
Or we just literally had an interview with Will McFadden, and he pretty much stated that the money just doesn't make sense. Like, so
it doesn't. We're
gonna let them have they shine, they sunshine, but let's just keep it real. Like I said, that's the reason why we have guys like him on. We just spoke about money. You gotta keep it real, people. You gotta keep it real. There's no way in the hell. Okay,
y'all don't get naked for Trevor Lawrence.
Exactly.
Y'all don't get naked for Trevor.
It's gonna be about 15 other pro days that they got to attend. So don't think that's
if you get him, you're gonna have to get rid of a lot of your other picks. So that's trading away. Like, even if they trade up to get him, they're gonna have to get rid of those picks because they're not gonna be able to afford a lot of those guys. So now you're looking at going in free agency and then getting all these dumpster trash guys like Terrell McClain, guys like Derek Shelby.
Was it Kevin King?
Yeah, old guy like that. So like, if you want to dig in, go ahead, do it if it's worth it.
Yeah, I think trading it back would be the most efficient situation, because kind of like Will was saying, 2021, we're gonna have to use a few band-aids. We ain't gonna be using no duct tape or glue. We're gonna be having to use band-aids for 2021. Oh Lord!
Oh no,
you didn't just go
there. Away, you guys. Keep that away.
Keep it away.
No, you did not just show your scalp.
Oh, she went there.
But yeah,
I think it was an excellent Biglow. I think it's an excellent move. Or what you don't want, as far as your drafting and free agency, what you don't want is to let people figure out what you're doing. So it's quite possible. It's quite possible that could happen. I'm not going to say anything is impossible, but when you look at it, like, this is what they would have to do if they did trade up to get, Sunshine, Mr. Trevor Lawrence. They would have to trade up, and they would have to get rid of a lot of those picks, because people don't realize that you still have to pay those guys. So it's like a lot of things would have to move in order for that move to happen.
Exactly. And the fact of the matter is that, you talk about everybody's getting naked with Trevor Lawrence. I'm finna say something that might be inflammatory, but Zach Wilson's a better quarterback anyway.
I think Zach Wilson's gonna go number 1 overall. I'm a stand on it.
Man, I'm
a stand on it.
I think he's a better overall quarterback, because I've seen Trevor Lawrence do one thing in his entire career, and that's throw deep passes. I've never seen him distribute the ball in the middle of the field consistently. Like, most of his passes you see is always on the deep sideline, or it's a deep post, and a lot of these guys are wide open. I haven't seen him be an actual quarterback, make all the throws in the middle of the field, deep, intermediate, like threading the needles. I've never seen him make every single throw consistently. We're talking about consistently. So when I see Zach Wilson as a quarterback, this is why I say that I don't necessarily agree with him being the best quarterback, is because I've seen some foot issues with his footwork. And when you're in the NFL and you're having issues with your feet work, your feet or footwork, however you want to say it.
Foot.
That leads to, and you know this, coach, that leads to happy feet. And you know what happy feet for quarterbacks in the NFL, what did that do, Biglow?
Hey, that's going to be a bunch of sacks, a bunch of interceptions, a bunch of fumbles. That's all it's going to lead to. That's all it's going to lead to. You talk about, that feats work, like my grandma would say, Grandma Kuntry. Talk about that. No feats. You talk about no feats is prime example of a quarterback with the bad feats work or bad footwork or feet work is your boy Cameron Newton. You know, because he'll fade back on the throw like MJ in 1996 in Utah.
I see a lot of that in Zach Wilson too. He likes to throw off his back foot a lot as well.
Yeah. He definitely does. And it's like I was saying in the chat with Mike, is that he'll throw it. He won't step into throws and he'll fade back a little bit, but those throws work. But it's a whole nother game now. Like, you know, that pass that would have been complete, you know, in college against Northwestern or against, you know, Kent State, you know, you can complete that one. But whenever you got a Mika Fitzpatrick,
taking that, Honey Badger taking that, he breaking on that. He taking that to the house. You can't throw those types of throws in the NFL. Not around guys like him.
Hell no, boy. Yeah, they like you said, the safeties are looking for those throws.
Yeah,
looking for them throws.
No, yep.
And Justin Fields' problem is Justin Fields got the Byron Leftwich thing going on with the release. That's going to be his issue.
He got a long release. It's a long release, and that's
just like Cam.
You said what, coach? Just like who?
Oh, I'm sorry. I said just like Cam. You know, Cam's release it's a little long too. It's like the Iliad and the Odyssey. You know, it take a while for that thing to unfold sometimes, you know.
So basically your comparison is basically we have two quarterbacks in this top draft that basically play like Cam Newton.
Well, yes, you talking about with Trey Lance.
I didn't talk about Trey Lance. I was talking about damn Justin Fields, but Trey Lance is another one. So we got a bunch of Cam Newton clones coming in.
Well, I think the biggest difference is that they ain't 6'5", 6'6", 265. That's the biggest difference right there in itself. You know, if I seen a guy that big, you know, I might act like I don't know if you ever heard people say that they act like they trying to tackle somebody. I would definitely act like I'm trying to tackle them. Like, oh man, I missed him. Man, somebody else get him for me.
It's like that man. What was his name? Was it Marcus Williams? I tried to tackle Stephon Diggs but missed.
Yeah, you probably talking about doing the cha-cha.
I mean, full blown miss. Like,
but yeah. Trevor Lawrence's other issue is he's gonna have to not try to run people over because he is not built for that. Not against no NFL boys.
Oh, he'll learn.
He'll learn. He
he'll learn one way or the other. Yeah, one way or the other. He gonna learn today.
Hold on, I'm gonna do it in my Beavis voice. Right. Yeah, he's gonna learn. He's gonna get blasted. They're gonna make him cut his hair.
Yeah,
they don't want to get ran over by sunshine.
I asked this question. I asked this question to J. Rock. What stood out to you most? Listening to Will, what caught your attention?
I think the biggest thing that stood out to me, Mike, is that you know, he talked about how, you know, because everybody's all excited about this 3-4 defense. But, you know, he was saying that, look, this might not be a situation where it's a twinkling of an eye. You know, it might, you know, whenever this 2021 season starts, they might not be lined up just like the 2012 Ravens. So, you know, don't be expecting that. You know, so it's one of those things that it's just going to kind of take time. And look, I got excited myself whenever I said, "Oh, we're getting Dean P's 3-4 defense. Let's go." And Dean P said himself, like, "Look, we're gonna be running multiple fronts." But what I latched on to was 3-4 defense. I'm ready, you know. So,
Low, don't get too naked, Low.
I had to put my clothes back on, boy. I had to, you know, because I was, you know, I started getting naked. And, you know,
a process, basically.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. It's going to be a process to get to a 3-4.
Yeah. But I did like the fact that, and this is things that we didn't think about, the fact that, you know, those 3-4 defensive ends, they're more specialized. So, you know, you don't see those out there that often. So it's one of those cases where we might be able to get them at a little bit more of a bargain deal because, you know, we could kind of plug them in. So I all those things kind of, you know, I was like, man, he's making a lot of good points. You know,
he brought up the fact that, like, this is something that I've actually been thinking about. It's like a lot of people are so focused on guys like Makai Parsons, but we have a guy on the roster who is essentially him.
Yep.
That's Michael Walker. Michael Walker is he played all, like, this dude was a middle linebacker, outside linebacker, pass rusher, playing in coverage. Like, this dude was an absolute beast, and he was ranked for a while the number 1 ranked linebacker in the NFL as far as rookies are concerned. So this guy is a player. Yeah,
he a baller. I even seen him selling popcorn in the stands one time. He does so many things. But yeah, man, yeah. And I don't know if y'all seen it. Like, you know, if you really watch the games, I seen him. You know, I seen him rush the passer. I've seen him, you know, fill gaps in that run game and cover guys at the same time. Like he's done it all. So another thing that stood out to me, Mike, is that, look, we don't know if these players that we have, I mean, we definitely think that they're talented, but are they going to match up with Dean P's system? Like a Debo, like, is it a situation? Because somebody in the comments was like, well, look, if Debo ain't big enough to play linebacker in that 3-4 scheme as an inside linebacker, somebody was like, he might need to be safety. I was like, oh, I don't know about that.
And that's what he was saying. Like, again, I think that's another thing they were stating is that, like Grady Jarrett, we don't know if Grady Jarrett is going to buy into DMP's system. If he does want to be, like, we don't know if he just watching the film on Grady Jarrett, I think he'll be a good, depending on, I think he'll be because he played 4-eye. Like, when you look at Dan Quinn's system and him playing in the Dan Quinn, he wasn't necessarily always a 3 tech. He played a lot of 4-eye positions. Like, he played 4-eye a lot. And that causes a lot of confusion with the tackles and the guards. And that's why he was able to make a lot of plays, because you can't put the tackle on him. You can't put a guard on him. He'll beat a guard to death. And the center just is in no man's land, because he got to worry about not only Grady Jarrett, but he has to worry about his running mate. So I think Grady Jarrett will be fine in the DMP system. But, again, we just don't know if he's going to buy into that system.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people, because when it comes to playing that 3-4 and you know, this is for everybody that's you know, in the comments and the chats that are listening. So one thing that they really like about those 3-4 ends is that, you know, they work on setting that edge in some cases, because it depends on who's rushing, if there's a linebacker rushing from your side, but they like those 3-4 ends to be taller and squeeze down to set that edge. Now, they like them to be tall with long arms so they can squeeze down and set that edge and look in the backfield. Now, Grady, he's not, you know, we know that he's not the tallest guy out there, but Grady can attack. Now, Mike, he put up a film study about a month ago now. Grady, boy, that boy moves sometimes like he's walking on fish grease, on hot fish grease. Like, he's so big, but the boy can move. Like, he can move. Like, sometimes we forget how fast Grady is, you know. Yeah. So, I mean, so it may be one of those things where
what about to kind of combat that? I think that's a great point that you brought up. But what about bringing a guy like a Gregory Rousseau? Because you got Grady Jarrett, who is about he's about 6 feet 6'1", and you bring a taller guy like Gregory Rousseau, who's 6'6", 6'7", to kind of combat that move. So what do you think about that?
Man, you know what, bro?
Not necessarily him, but a guy with that length.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, I definitely think we need to bring somebody like that in, because I mean, just like Will was saying, we're gonna have these multiple fronts. So if we bring a guy like a Russo or like a Jalen Twyman, it could be one of those cases where, with these multiple fronts based on our offense, and this is why I'm loving this defense and this offense, is because we're going to actually adapt. We're going to see what we got, and then we're going to react to it, opposed to, well, this is the play that we calling, y'all make the best with it kind of a situation. So I think either way, we should still get somebody like that, and go ahead and start changing our identity. That's what I was talking about in that mock draft last night. It's about changing your identity,
Identity.
Yeah.
I got something, and it's kind of piggyback on what y'all both said as far as this draft. Like with Michael Walker, like you said, Michael Walker, Tony Wright said in the comment, like you said, he made the all rookie team. Like you said, that's not necessarily don't need a Michael Walker. I mean, not Michael Walker, Michael Parsons. You said that 3-4 end with long arms, you got John Cominsky right there.
Yeah, and people forget about John.
Yeah.
So when you actually look at the roster that we have, especially with the young players we have, it's not so much as getting the next starter. It's we're actually in a position to actually get the best players because we already have the needs.
Yeah.
Our problem was we just didn't play them enough.
Yeah. Because I mean, everybody in the comments, they're talking about Marlon. Everybody's like, we still hadn't seen what Marlon was, what he got going on. And Coolin E. Roberts, he asked the dude I was talking about that played at Pitt in the mock draft last night. I think his name is Jalen Twyman. Yeah. And he wore the same number as Aaron Donald. I think he's like 6'7", 260, 270. 270 or 280. But he had 10 sacks last year, moving like that. I mean, so there's talent out there. He's like projected for like a 5th or 4th round pick. So, I mean, there's talent out there, So just like you were saying, Kstlyz, we get the best player available, we should be all right. Because like we've been saying since week 2, this team's not that bad. This team,
we wasn't that bad. It was Tack that was bad.
It's really about having and putting those big players like a Grady Jarrett in positions where they can have more one-on-one. So you got guys like Dion Roman Free, put a big nose tackle in front of him, a guys at 340, 350, put him in front of Dion and just let Dion run. Like we saw what happened with Baltimore. We saw what happened even in San Francisco with what's his name? The linebacker in San Francisco. Patrick Willis. They put those big guys in front of him, just let him roam. Like that's what you want. So we have players in place, even if they don't believe in Deion Jones. Like you said, he has the way his contract is structured, they can move on from Deion next year and Grady Jarrett. They can move on from those guys next year, so they can bring in a guy like, they already got a guy like Foyer who's much bigger and much more physical as a linebacker than Deion. So it's like they have options to move on.
Yeah, because I think Foyer fits that scheme a little bit better than Deion does.
Right.
Because thing about that 3-4 defense is, you got to become a waste management specialist. And whenever I say that, I mean that you got to learn how to sift through trash. you gotta sift through trash.
Wait. So you gotta know how to go through the stank.
You gotta learn how to get through the stank shit because and literally in cases like that, that's why that 3-4 defense, that zone run blocking scheme is the ultimate enemy. It could be the ultimate enemy or it could be the ultimate friend of it because you know if somebody guesses and they shoot the gaps right in that zone run blocking scheme, they're gonna blow it up. Kind of like when we played Pittsburgh, I think last year or the year before last year, they were eating us alive. But if it's a case where, you know, you pick them up right, you could eat them alive. Now, those linebackers in that zone, I mean, in that 3-4 defense, they got to know how to shed blocks and make tackles at the same time. So it's real important, man. Like, you can't be playing. That's why Ray was such a beast, you know.
Yeah, Tony Wright. He said, should the Falcons not go after many free agents too much this season? But Jarrell Casey is one free agent the Falcons should consider signing. Agree, disagree? Yeah, for the veteran minimum, yes, because he has experience in not only this defense, but what the expectation is from this coaching staff.
Yeah.
So, like you said, that's one of those guys that kind of got like that injury history the last couple years. But like I said, you can get a veteran minimum contract from him and just let him ball his ass out.
Yeah, and you know, and that was another thing Will was talking about. Like, this might be one of those years where we get these veterans and they could teach these young guys how to be veterans. I put it in the comments: vets teach Thundercats how to be vets. You know,
I saw that.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, and that's the truth. Like, we've seen it over the years. It's like Roddy and Tony, they taught Julio how to be a veteran. It's worked so well for his career. Like, he went from, doing the, what's that dance? The what is it called? The beef it up on the sideline after he scored his first touchdown to, just throwing the ball up and running back to the sideline. You know, so yeah, man, veterans teach Thundercats how to be veterans. Oh, beef it up.
I think one thing that we probably had a problem with this year is probably rotation. Every time somebody went down, we haven't really had that person. Like, okay, this is a person that'd be perfect to take over this role. Like when Grady, went down, we had no answer. Fowler went down. We really didn't have no answer. We had to, use Foy to blitz or use Dion to blitz. I think rotation is going to be one of the biggest things. So, like, basically, what I'm saying is like filling in a lot of depth, especially in that position. I get that. Who did we pick? We picked up Harris, but he wasn't really out there. I seen more Means than I seen Harris, you know what I'm saying? I feel like I don't know why, because I thought Harris was actually pretty good.
You know what though? That's something that he said. That's something that he stated even during the interview. He was saying like these guys were putting up, they were getting to the quarterback, they were producing, but that's what he's talking about. This accountability and having these guys are playing well, and you turn around and you put back in Tack McKinley who ain't doing crap. Like, that's accountability. Why are these guys still playing if you're not producing?
Right, exactly. So I'm like, Means, I feel like he could have sat down somewhere. He should have been that rotational guy, maybe move him around. But come on now, like, come on, like you got a Harris, and then like this is like why Means. It's like Kstlyz preach all the time about. That man is just a hype man. Yeah, that man, Little John in the back.
Yeah, Stephen Means.
Like, come on, man. Like, are you serious?
Always a bridesmaid.
Dang, y'all call that man a hype man. He called him Little John, man.
Little John. Yeah, that's what he was doing. Every time when his boys get a lick in. Yeah. What?
Well, like somebody said from the show last night, you blame Mr. Smith. You blame Smithers on that one.
Yeah.
That's Tommy the Preacher, our new name, Smithers.
But you do make a good point though, Rob, because I mean, you got to have some depth. But and just like Mike was saying that Will brought up, it's like, look, if I play 4 weeks in a row, and the only thing that I did was just get a free flight and was fed and stayed in a nice hotel over the weekend, everybody else are going to look around and they're going to say, why is he still starting, coach? Mm-hmm. So, it's just one of those things where it's like, you got to, it's like KSTYLZ always says, accountability. Like, I want to see, you got to show me that, that you at least care, because if I know that you don't care subconsciously, I'm not going to care either.
Right. That's when we was talking about like Michael Walker. Like, okay, you could have put him down there, on the line or something. I mean, hell, I would rather see more Allen Bailey, because I know Allen Bailey was going off one game. Like, mix it up. Like, I think rotation is going to be has to be a big thing. So I know everybody was saying like get who was it? Y'all said Jarrell Casey. I think he's a good candidate because he used to play for Tennessee. I was going to go ahead and if I were to choose Jarrell Casey is actually pretty good. Mm-hmm. I would just go ahead and bring in like a Justin Houston. He's from Georgia.
Statesboro, right? Georgia.
Yep. So, I mean, look what he's doing with the Colts, coming from Kansas City for all those seasons. I mean, I think he had like about 8 or 9 sacks this season, under the Colts, and Colts didn't have a pass rush since, Lord, I can't even remember, since Dwight Freeney.
Yeah,
or Robert Mathis. Yeah, so it's like, I don't know.
Came out of
Egypt. Like, he's only just like Will said. I mean, you're gonna have to bring in some vets. I mean, you might get by getting one of these, mid 25-year-olds or 27 or whatever. But bring in some of these vets, like you said, Derek Wolfe. Derek Wolfe is a good one. I can settle for that one. That's not bad. I mean, I'm gonna throw JJ Watt in there, but some people don't want JJ, but that's another veteran. Like, come on now, he has the accolades to back it up. So,
man, JJ.
Look, it ain't that nobody want JJ. We know we can't afford him.
Yeah, it's like
I'm not getting my hopes up. That's
like going to look at that G wagon. That's like going to the Mercedes-Benz dealership, looking at that G wagon. You only make $15,000 a year. You like, ain't even no need of looking at it. Like, I don't even want to talk about it.
You used to doing that. I ain't doing that to myself.
I'm gonna go here to Bob's Auto Sales and see if I can find me a nice used Kia.
He said the auto sales. No, you didn't.
But yeah, man. I mean, I definitely think, because in all of the fans in the comments, like, everyone agrees, and if I'm wrong, y'all let me know. Everyone agrees pass rush is one of our biggest issues. Like, even and I said this on the mock draft last night, Arthur Blank is a guy who, all he does is just make money. He runs a bunch of Home Depots, and he runs the Falcons and Atlanta United. He don't supposed to be worried about this. This man has observation saying, look, guys, we need to work on our defense. We ain't getting to the quarterback, and we need to run the ball more. Why in the world can't the doggone scouting department and everybody who works in the front office see that as well? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because in fact of the matter, every time you take somebody in the first round, like, taking Tack McKinley, anytime you take somebody like that in the first round, you're married to him for at least 3 or 4 years. So if he doesn't show up, it's literally like you got roaches in the house and you can't get rid of them. Because you can't afford to call it exterminated.
Hey, like you said, you married Tack McKinley and forgot the other females that you could have got, or the prospects, as in Tre'Davious White,
yes,
TJ Watt,
yes,
Dalvin Cook, Buda Baker.
Oh my God,
Alvin Kamara.
Please stop.
Don't do us like that. Don't do
I'm just saying. Like I said, I gotta be real with you. They chose a kid that played under Jim Moore Jr. Same team as Josh Rosen. For guys that was actually established.
And then it's like, if you actually look at his story, like, I think he went to college somewhere else, but the fact, and I look at work ethic, the fact that he was academically ineligible, and for some reason he slipped through the cracks to get on at UCLA. How in the world, I do not know, one of the top research schools in the United States. Somehow he slipped up and got on UCLA, and he only performed the year before he got drafted, which is a huge red flag for me in itself. So it's like whenever we took, and then I always say, you never listen to the loudest guy in the room. When the loudest guy in the room doing all this talking, you never listen to him. So you got all these other guys that just come up, shake Roger Goodell's hand, walk off stage. You got this other guy, yeah, get to the quarterback. I knew then. At that moment, I knew.
Oh, let me throw some more names out there.
Oh my God.
Oh no, don't do us like that.
Let me throw some more names out there. Cooper Kupp.
Don't stop. Stop.
Kareem Hunt. I'm just gonna end it there. I didn't want to. Hey, Chris Godwin, so I'm just ending it there.
Somebody got a question for you, J Rock.
Okay, Tony Wright, question for J Rock. As we are a month away from free agents, do you think we should re-sign Keanu Neal to a cap-friendly deal? Do you believe that second year Jalen Hawkins is ready to start now? I do like Jalen Hawkins. I don't think he's ready to start now, but I think Keanu Reeves. Gosh, Keanu Neal. I think he's a must sign, but don't be surprised if he's not here next year. Just be prepared for that. But I do think he should be the number one priority because I think he deserves comeback player of the year for our team. The way he showed out and he played a full season after the tragics that he's been having the past 2 seasons, with the injuries. I think that last year was a prove it deal, and he proved it all year that he's still that big hit key. Like he looked new and improved out there, and then you put him in the box the way they used him, which we never really seen him in the box like that, like he was used all year. Oh man, it's like it's crazy. It's amazing. Like for somebody to come from those torn injuries, what was it, the ACL and what else was it, the same injury back to back? Achilles. Like he played phenomenal. I think bringing him back, it should be a number one priority. But like I said, don't be surprised if we cannot bring him back. I would love to have Kiki back because we need some boom and he needs some help.
We don't know what we have in Jalen. I said we don't know what we have in Jalen. We don't know what we have in Quadri. We don't know what we have in Ito. Ito could be a Pro Bowl back, and we don't know because we haven't seen these guys actually perform well. And that's why like I said, this is the reason why we bring on these guys who are in the know. Like he's right there, day-to-day operations, working with the Atlanta Falcons, and he's saying this. These guys are pretty good players, and you got Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitrov, they fighting over who guys going to get the playing time. Like, look, it's just, I'm just speechless, man. Like I said, it was an excellent interview, but this is something that we all needed to hear because it pretty much confirmed all our, our suspicions for the most part and our views and everything, man.
Yeah, I mean, because it's kind of like I said in the chat before y'all came live. We were just talking about football, and I was saying that look, you don't want to be a situation where you don't want to put cologne on before you get in the shower. Ain't no need to put cologne on when you musky. You put cologne on when you musky, you smell even worse.
You just expensively stank.
Expensively stank. Exactly. So sometimes it's like you just have to start like you got to just change the culture. So it's like sometimes patching things or things like that is best to just go ahead and change things all over. The Chiefs did it. The Chiefs they were a playoff team and they got rid of almost everybody. I remember they came back the next season, 60% of their starting lineup was gone. you know, and they just retooled and came back a better team. You know, been in 2 straight Super Bowls. You know, so I mean, it's definitely a situation. But you know what, Rock, I forgot all about Charles Harris. To be completely honest with you, it seems like at the end of the season last year, we just seen the same guys out there over and over again.
Yeah,
you know,
that's why I was like, rotation has to be. It just has to be done. Like, why do you think Grady Jarrett got burnt out? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, first half, like he's, you know, bull rushing for the first quarter and second quarter, and then the third quarter, fourth quarter, we like scratching our heads, like, damn, did y'all see Grady out there? Because it's just like he ran out of the tank. Like, that's why I was like, we got to switch guys around. Like, I understand that, you know, Comiskey, you know, was on the COVID list. And then you got what's his name, Marlon Davidson on the COVID list. So it's like we got a rotation has to be a big thing. Like, you want to have depth in the D line, and you know, I feel like it's gonna be a lot better this year because I don't think a lot of guys is gonna get tired. Because if we switch into 3-4, I mean, of course we're gonna be using our linebackers, and you see how our linebackers can actually get sacks. Deion Jones and Foy, like that shows you that they can possibly fit. You know, in this 3-4, if you're gonna have them blitzing. Shoot, we could have anybody blitzing on the edge, really.
You're right.
Anybody can blitz. Foy can blitz, Walker can blitz, or Deion could blitz. And then, you know, because nobody didn't know coming out of the draft, just like we preach about talking about Michael Walker. Yeah, we know he does crazy stuff, you know, pass rushing, you know, but we never knew his coverage was that good. Did y'all knew that?
Yeah, I mean, I know Kstlyz was talking about it before the season.
I never knew his coverage.
I know he had range like Jesus Christ. I saw a couple of things for him in front, but this dude would literally go back 20 yards in coverage. They run a draw play. He hit the running back at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's like we got so many tools. Like, I know how I was saying, you know, in the past shows, like, oh man, just imagine if we get Micah Parsons in that, you know, that 4 core or whatever that if we plan on keeping the rest of those guys. I feel like, you know, I can agree with Mike. Like, we technically already have that with Michael Walker. It's just utilizing him. So like it can be Deion rushing and then have Foy and Walker in the middle. Like, it's so many things that we can do.
Yeah, but don't forget
this year.
But don't forget, Rob, open your mind, because you remember what Dean P says. Anybody could come. You can have AJ Terrell. You can have Isaiah Oliver. You can have, anybody could come down there. So, you know, that's one of the beauties of that 3-4 defense, man. You know,
and I'm gonna showcase that on next Dean P's defensive scheme video, where he's gonna send corners, he's gonna send safety, he's gonna have guys like what we saw towards the end of the year when we saw Jacob Tui Mariner in coverage. So I'm gonna show all of that type of stuff in the next defensive scheme video, and I'm sure Lo gonna get down to that also. But like you said, man, it's like, don't be surprised. Dean P is one of those guys I compare. They pretty much have the same, you know, they pretty much have sister brother scheme depending on which, like I said, how you want to say it. But he and Rex Ryan, they pretty much run the exact same system. They're very aggressive up front. They send blitzes from all types of ways, and they play a lot of zone and man coverages up front. And they would mix zone on one side of the field, and they would have man on this side of the field. So he's very tricky with his scheme, man.
Cover 6 is. So let me ask y'all.
I was gonna say cover 6, maybe.
Yeah. So let me ask y'all one question. Y'all think we might do like the Patriots did and pay a referee to blitz the quarterback as well, since we bringing everybody?
I'm about to say, the way this defense look, you gonna have DMPs coming off a corner blitz.
Man,
I got a question for everybody though. As far as the DBs go, how do you guys seeing that working out in the future? Like, to be honest with you, I've seen more of our DB rotations more than anything this season. Of course, with the injuries, but like everybody's all over the place. Like, one minute you got, you know, Oliver in there, and then Oliver's in the slot somewhere, and then Sheffield is here, Sheffield is there, and then you got Bleedy Ray, and like, how do y'all think the cornerback thing is going to go? And then Denard, like, what you guys want Denard back?
Man,
I think he'll be most likely because he'll be the cheaper value. But like I said, he still has the physicality that Dean Pease would like. Like I said, I got to talk with one of my co-workers today too about that too. We know we call Lower coach, but this dude is also, I call him coach as well. He just coaches my job. We call him Big Play Ray for a reason. That's what he was saying. He was like, yeah, that Darqueze Denard definitely would fit this system here.
He would.
So I could see him kind of being the cheaper version as far as keeping him.
Now,
my only problem is going to be Kendall Sheffield. I don't know how he's going to hold up.
And here's the thing about him, what I always say. I think he's more of a slot corner
I
than
don't know
anything.
how they're going to use. Like I said, if they talk about moving Isaiah Oliver to free safety, Kendall Sheffield better hold that slot up, boy, because I'm telling you.
Yeah, I think he should
ain't gonna play that shit.
I think he should be a slot corner, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Man, thing about Kendall Sheffield, he's not physical enough to be a slot corner. Like, especially in this scheme that we're going to be running, it's like you got to have somebody to put hands on, like the preacher do on Sundays. I just don't see it. I just don't see him doing that. He relies on the speed. That's a little bit too much for that slot corner. And, me and Mike talk about it all the time, man. It's like the NFL with these slot cornerbacks, like they run all these pick plays and all kind of stuff. Like unless you touching them, you ain't gonna be able to just keep up with anybody because the slot position is evolved way too much. It just make it way too easy to throw across the middle of the field.
So would you say that slot corner is more valuable than really the outside corners?
I mean, I think all of them are just as valuable because, especially in cases where you're running zone coverage, it in a way you just covering a part of the field. But I would go out on a limb and say that. I guess it depends on the team that you're playing. If you're playing someone like the Arizona Cardinals, a team that likes to kind of stretch. If they're going big or they're going home, they stretch the field or they're throwing screen passes. Yeah, I like those outside guys. But if I'm playing someone like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who they run those pick plays and throw across the middle of the field, that slot better bring his lunch pail to work today. I think that all the experience that Isaiah Oliver had. And, a lot of people gave him a hard time at the beginning of the season, including myself. Biglow know how to eat crow now. He balled out. And I think that now he's one of those guys that every team has to have because he could literally play every position, every defensive back position on the field, which is that's something that a lot of people can't do.
That's valuable.
Yep, I agree with that because this is what I was saying when I know I talk about this all the time. The video not the video, but the picture I put up with Isaiah Oliver at different corner positions, you're gonna have to switch him around to make him feel more comfortable. And it was a grade on where he was lined up on the field.
He's dangerous, like he's the perfect piece for a guy like Dean Pease because like you can mask a lot of things.
Oh, Mike went out on us.
I think Smithers done took over his thing.
Smithers trying to take me out, man. Smithers trying to take me out. Hey man, I think he's the perfect corner for Dean Pease because he can do. He's not only physical, but he's big. He can play strong safety, free safety, slot outside. Like he can do it. Isaiah Oliver can do it all. And being that he's an excellent tackler, I think that's the most valuable asset for a guy like Dean Pease is because he likes to blitz. So with him, it's like you can line he and AJ Terrell on the same side, and you don't know who is going to come from a blitz. So you out there guessing. So
Exactly.
I think Isaiah Oliver I think he's a perfect piece for DNP. He gonna have some fun with Isaiah Oliver. I can tell you that right now.
Man, boy, that's I know whenever they first brought Isaiah Oliver in, Dan Quinn, he's been trying to get that old thing back for so long and try to create a Legion of Boom 2.0. But whenever they brought Isaiah Oliver in, they thought he was going to be like a Brandon Browner type of guy, big, physical, jam at the line. Thing is that he's faster than Brandon Browner. But I mean, they finally learned how to use the kid right. I know that first game of the season, whenever DK Metcalf burnt his draws off, did y'all see DK Metcalf run Hooker down? Like, who would be able to keep up with that guy, man? Like,
come on, man.
He's a sideboard. He's the sideboard for the tournament.
Man, he's baby who, man. That man, baby who.
Yeah. So I mean, look. You got to give the guy credit, man. Whenever he played in that slot, he balled out. And before DK Metcalf caught that pass, he was shutting them down. Don't forget about that. They were trying to go to him and screen passes. He had them locked up. They weren't giving them nothing. Y'all see how big DK Metcalf is.
Yeah. Somebody asked us what is our thoughts on Bleedy Ray Wilson?
He led the team in interceptions. That's all you got to know.
He's a veteran piece. I think he'll be all right, man. He's a veteran piece. I don't think he's a bad corner. I just think he'll be a pretty good piece, being that he is a veteran. It's like what you're going to get from him. He's not going to be. He's not going to be an all-pro, but he's going to be solid. So it's like if that's something that you need until you find another corner to go alongside AJ, then I would take that chance on him.
Yeah. One thing about Bleedy is that those interceptions that he got last year, he went off script. Look at him. He was like, "Buck, you coaches, I'm gonna do my thing."
Yeah, that's an example of the next man up right there.
Yeah.
When Denard went out, that was a prime example of that.
Hey,
But
man,
you notice all his interceptions came in clutch situations too.
Yep.
And that's why I said I would not mind, because I know what I'm getting for Bleedy. Like, I know he's not going to be excellent. And that's what sometimes on every team, just like a Robert Orr, Robert Orr is going to hit that three when you need him most. That's it. Sometimes that's what you need on a team, a guy that who's going to do their job and you can count on. I can count on Bleedy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Are we closing out?
Yeah.
We're about to close out, man.
That was a great show, though. That was really an amazing
Absolutely.
show. Y'all missed the first half of it with Will McFadden. That was an honor to have him on, and then have the AFN crew to join us at the end of it. It's how you end the show. So let's just go ahead and do our after shots or whatever, how y'all want to do it. Let's go ahead and close it out.
I'll start. I just want to say, everybody in the chat, you guys, this is what we do. We're not going to bring guys on here that are not going to be an asset as far as our vision and what we want for, not only for AFN, Biglow, KSTYLZ, Miss Maggie T, like our channel. We're here to give you guys nothing but the facts and the truth.
And Will McFadden said it too. I love that when he said it. Yeah,
that's it. That's part of the facts and the truth. And he fits right into what we're doing. So it was an excellent show. It was a perfect show. You know what I'm saying? So like this is what we do, man. Like, we're here to give you guys nothing, even if we disagree with what he or anybody says. Look, it's the facts and the truth. So I appreciate everybody for joining us again, man. If you want to check out everyone's channel, look in the description of each and every video. All the links for everyone's channel is always there. So please, okay? Okay, style. Please, everybody, hits everybody up and hit that subscribe button on each channel, man.
Takes 3 seconds.
That's
I'm
it.
putting that description now, actually. That's it. That's all we got. We've been going on for 2 hours, almost 2 hours and a half. So follow Biglow Kuntry.
Follow Biglow Kuntry. Make sure y'all check out that mock draft that we did last night. So for everybody that's getting naked for Justin Fields, y'all make sure y'all check it out. We actually traded down in that mock draft, but make sure you go to Biglow Kuntry Sports. It's spelled with Kuntry because I'm from the country.
Because he country as hell.
I'm sorry, y'all. Well, if you check it out, make sure you subscribe, man. Definitely.
And then follow me, Miss Maggie T. I do Hawks, Braves, Falcons, whatever. I'm on Atlanta Falcons Nation. I do motivational videos on Lust Exchange. I wear many hats, and I run these guys. Just letting y'all know. So.
Hey, Anime, hold on.
Yeah, I don't know about run now. I don't know about run. You got the AFN over there and everything. I don't know about run these guys. We collaborate.
You ain't running nothing over there.
But no,
she's the glue that keeps everybody together. So like,
seriously,
definitely.
this crew right here. This is amazing crew. So follow everybody on this channel. But seriously, we operate and do our own things individually, along with coming with to Atlanta Falcons Nation and KSTYLZ got something to say. Go ahead, KSTYLZ.
all right. Hey. But like I said, just make sure you subscribe to the Just KSTYLZ channel. Kicking it with KSTYLZ every Monday, 7 p.m., 7:05. Depends on how I feel. But I want to plug a special event that looks like it might be coming on tonight.
Oh.
BET Uncut is coming back.
I saw. So that's real. That's real.
What? Where?
I see that. When is it coming back?
In 2021.
I thought the Spirit Club put that out of business.
Special announcement. That man said BET Uncut. I thought it was some real.
I thought it was something real too.
No, that's real. Sure.
But it's just for the Valentine's Day weekend.
Oh my God!
I thought OnlyFans put them out of business. I didn't know they was.
No, it was Instagram that put them out of business. OnlyFans put Instagram out of business.
Oh, okay.
And they both put Backpage out of business.
Oh man!
Oh my God! He got everybody.
It's gonna be watered down, though. It's gonna be a watered down BET.
No, they say they're supposed to be showing everything.
Oh God!
I thought they went mainstream, and they was all about uplifting, and y'all know what BET Uncut was now.
Yeah. I got the playlist on my YouTube.
Oh, don't you start.
Oh man!
I guess me and KSTYLZ finna check that out.
Yeah, boy, I'm about to go ham. I'm about to drink. I'm about to have fun with this.
Sounds like a very romantic Valentine's Day, KSTYLZ.
It's gonna be very romantic with my beer. That's
That's hilarious. So
I'm gonna say my going out. You guys go follow Atlanta Falcon Nation on Twitch and the gaming channel. My J-Rock for Life gaming channel. I do Throwback Thursdays on Thursdays. I stream Monday through Thursday. So if y'all like, Nintendo 64, anything, let me know ideas on what to stream, and I can guarantee I can get it to work. But definitely follow the Twitch Atlanta Falcon Nation and my personal gaming channel.
All right. It's on you, Mike.
Me?
Yeah.
He went first.
He went first.
He started it off.
I lost the count. KSTYLZ threw me off of that BET Uncut.
he always fucking up the chat.
I'm telling you, I thought you were making a Black History announcement or something.
No.
I know, right?
I do those on the Kicking It with KSTYLZ show.
Oh, okay. Exclusively. Okay. I got you.
Or if I find something that's ridiculously obvious that I need to say, but we had a good show today with Will McFadden and all that stuff. Like I said, we just gonna hold on to that. And I just wanted to say something a little stupid. So there you go.
Oh Lord.
Well, that was it. That was it.
Okay. Well, last but not least, y'all make sure y'all subscribe to Atlanta Falcons Nation. We're going to be trying to bring more interviews like that to the off season. I'm going to be in so many people's DMs now that the Super Bowl is over with. They ain't got no obligation, so you never know who we're going to have next, and we might have one of these individuals on the show for that interview. So look out. I think we might do a draft night, and I think just J Rock said he might want to do something for tomorrow for the fans. We'll see how I feel about that. So we'll let y'all know about that because we do want to do a show for the fans to come on and jump on and speak their piece about everything.
Yeah, because
it's
been a month.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while for it. So if anybody else want to hop on for that, I'll let y'all know when it's going to be. But we always open the stream to our fans to kind of speak their piece. We sit back and let y'all speak. So I'm thinking that we might end up doing that tomorrow. We'll let you know how that goes. But until the next time, people, go ahead and watch BET Uncut.
Oh, hey, one more thing. This is something new I added last week. If you guys are in the Discord and you guys had a question or want to ask us questions, there is a Ask AFN tab in the Discord now. If you guys didn't notice, Ask AFN is under the Dirty Bird Talk category. You can ask us questions, anything.
Okay. I didn't even notice that. Okay.
That's all.
All right then.
Yeah,
well,
he told me and I just forgot about it.
Well, he didn't tell me. So
While you were gone, Miss Maggie T, me and Mike was
Oh yeah, Miss Maggie was flying out for other shows and stuff like that. I'm doing my celebrity thing lately. That was fun. That was fun. Hopefully to have, all these other players come on and, sit with us live. I'm really trying to get a studio together in the near future where we can all come together for a show. That's my future goal. Definitely. I think that if we can be all in the same building, that would be epic. Or we can go to New York and visit Rich and Magnus as well. So you never know what we're going to do. Never know what we're gonna do, but let's go ahead and fall on off. Let y'all have y'all Saturday afternoon back. I know it's some lovers in the house that got to go ahead and get with the boo things for the weekend. If y'all see my profile picture, I hope y'all like my date on the profile picture. You saw that, Matt, Mike?
Yes, I did. Yes, I loved it. Okay.
Yeah, that's my date for the weekend.
J Roger like, fuck it.
Yeah. If y'all know what I'm talking about, go check out my Instagram or Facebook. I showed my boo thing on there, so let y'all know what I'm doing for the weekend.
Hey man, just follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, man. Like I said, we're more than willing to
yeah.
We just keep tripping. So with that being said, man, let's get up out of here.
Get up out of here and go watch that mock draft that Biglow had put on. That was a big one. But on that note, we out of here, people. Peace. Hey, Asia, you back? Well, we leaving though. So
wow. I'm sorry, Asia. I'm sorry, Miss Maggie.
She was here earlier though.
Yeah, I know. I just played with Asia.
She know I'm just joking. We love you, girl. All right, people. We're gonna go get out of here because I gotta go eat.
Out.
You ain't got to go home.
But you got to get the hell out of here.
Because I'm just Kstlyz. And I said so, motherfucker.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. We getting up out of here. Appreciate it. Asia, you crazy, girl.